All right, hello everybody. I wanted to welcome you to another edition of the MYVIWHY John Cooper Group Community Profile. Today we're going to look at another incredible business here in Nanaimo. I'm standing with Fred Jeffery. Fred Jeffery runs Lucid as well as local By Lucid. We're standing in local now. This is an incredible shop, and I want to take some time today to find out a little bit more what inspired these businesses and what inspired you to start your businesses here on Vancouver Island. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today, Fred.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. It's good to be here talking to you. So I grew up on Cortez Island.
Okay.
Yeah, on the north end of the island. So I'm a pretty much islander through and through.
Yeah.
I can't see myself being a mainlander. Nothing against mainlanders, but I just like the island. I live on island time. I think is probably the biggest deterrent for me being able to handle city life. I've chosen to live in Nanaimo because, well, when I first moved here, the central location, there's a reason it's called the hub city.
Yeah.
It is close to the ferry. If I did want to spend some time on the mainland, it's close to Victoria. You can get up to the mountain or out to Tofino really easy. I can get home to Cortez as well. Just a nice little shot up the highway. That being said, I've been here now for almost 16 years, and Nanaimo is just, it's grown on me so much.
Yeah.
Now that I've been here and discovered it and been fortunate enough to become a part of an exciting, dynamic business community downtown. Made some friends. There's people here that do everything from trail running to mountain biking to kayaking, all the outdoor stuff, but there's artists and musicians here as well. There's a great community, creative community. There's theater. It goes on and on and on. Nanaimo is just the perfect size to be able to facilitate having all these different pursuits and enough community support for them. As well, it's also small enough that you can walk down the street and probably see somebody you know and get to know a few people.
Yeah, I love that about this place. I call, it's like a best of both worlds. You've got ultra convenient access to arguably the two best cities in our province, Victoria and Vancouver, right at your fingertips.
Maybe, well, not the world, but they rank up there really high. Right?
Yeah, and yet you can have a quality of life that would be really unattainable in those communities when we look at housing affordability and traffic and all that. That's why I sort of call Nanaimo the best of both worlds kind of community.
Yeah.
And you've touched on that. So it's in this store, it seems obvious because you've got so much Vancouver Island inspired goods here. But tell me about the Vancouver islands in general you touched on kind of have their own culture and flavor. How does that island culture and flavor kind of weave its way into your businesses here in Nanaimo?
Well, when I first opened Lucid, which is just up the street from this shop, I was in Courtenay. That was about 18 years ago. I just moved off of Cortez Island, and I wanted to get into retail. My mother has owned a grocery store all of her life, and just
so you're a merchandiser, merchandiser.
Yeah, born stocking shelves. So it was really easy to shift into hanging racks with clothing. But I did see that there was definitely a hole. There was sort of in the market. There was a lot of outdoor stores, there was a lot of action sports stores, but there wasn't necessarily a lot of businesses that were taking sort of a boutique approach to it, which I think really represents some of the creativity that we have here on the island. As much as we do like our outdoor stuff, I think people also appreciate what might also be a little taste of the city as well over here, particularly in a smaller town like Courtenay. And that's where, 3 years after I opened there, I had an opportunity to take over a store here on Commercial Street a friend of mine had owned. I took over her lease and expanded for a couple of years. I contracted after I closed the Courtenay store, which was just 2 or 3 years later, mostly because as much as it's nice to drive up and down the highway, I really just wanted to focus on one. And I saw a lot of potential here in Nanaimo at the time. This was prior to the conference center being built, and downtown had quite a few issues at the time, issues that have been addressed and that have been worked on. There's lots more to be dealt with, but so having that store down there we brought in brands from global brands from all over, and always tried to sort of reflect a little bit of fashion but a little bit of function, which I think is a sensibility that a lot of people on the island have.
Nanaimo can connect with that.
Totally, yeah. It's a very much an island thing. So after having the store there for 15 years down here in Nanaimo, I started to carry a few years ago, I started to carry a few Vancouver Island brands, some locally made goods, be it soaps or jewelry. There's a few great t-shirt brands, and we just progressively, there seemed to be more and more of a demand, of a desire to support local things. I think this is something that happens all over the place, but it's with the island having a moat all around it, being surrounded by water, there's a very clear definition of what it is to be on the island and to be an islander. So when this space here became available I guess it became available in October, and then I took it over in November. It seemed like the perfect spot to feature all Vancouver Island brands. So this store is filled with all businesses that are owned by people that live on the island. And hopefully, in most cases, I think actually in all cases, there's at least a little bit of the production that happens over here. Cool. So it's inspired with the design, as well as, be it a screen print or a tag being hung on it, or in some cases, the product manufacture from beginning to end is done on the island. So.
Nice, I love that. And you and I were talking the other day. I've been involved with downtown initiatives for a while, like yourself, and you were commenting that for the first time in the 15 years that you've been here, since the conference center built, all the retail space down here is occupied. And it seems like, despite some of what you're hearing about what's going on downtown, Commercial Street's really coming into its own right now. Do you feel the same way about that, or?
Oh, I really do. I get confused. I hear comments. I quite often read them online, which is never a place you should focus too much attention on. In the comment section of any.
It's good entertainment.
But it's entertainment for sure. But you start to hear this narrative that somehow downtown is dangerous, or that it's dead, or that it's struggling, or the worst it's ever been. And I've been here for 15 years, and I've seen nothing but progress being made year after year. And like you said, for the first time since the conference center's been built, it's the entire retail space along Commercial Street is now full. There's not an empty spot along there. And as I look out the window at the mall, they're all unique and great businesses, each and of themselves.
Yeah.
There's
they're really starting to complement one another.
They really are. Yeah, and they complement the rest of the street, which is really, really nice to see. When I first opened, I felt that like the shop itself had to be a destination.
Yeah.
That was 15 years ago. So as a shop, I had to draw people down to stand out. But now we actually have the whole area, the whole street is a shopping destination. So.
Love hearing about your passion for all things island. It takes a lot of work to run a retail space, let alone 2 retail spaces in a downtown core. Someone like yourself, you must need to kind of disconnect and recharge once in a while. Where is it here on Vancouver Island that you go to kind of reconnect and ground yourself to come back and do the hard work to run these companies?
Well, anytime I can get back to Cortez Island, I do. I still have some property and a house up there. And so if I can get to one of the smaller islands, that's a great way for me to hit the reset button.
Yeah, nice.
Unfortunately, it's not as easy because, like you say, with the 2 businesses, it can occupy a lot of my time. So locally, right in our backyard, we have Mount Benson, and it's beautiful. It's amazing. 4 seasons of the year. It's great. It's accessible. It's just a 15-minute drive from my house to the Witchcraft Lake, which is where the trail starts. I just went up this morning, actually, and it was the 102nd time I've gone up this year.
Oh, wow. So. It's 101 more times than I have.
Yeah. I've kind of been a little obsessed about it, to be honest, but I set a goal to try to hit 100, and now that the ball's rolling, I can't seem to stop.
Maybe the team and I should tag along sometime.
Yeah,
you can
anytime,
show us the better route.
I'd love to have you up there. But it's, as you know, I recommend this to any visitors or anybody that's new to town. It's just beautiful up there. You really get a sense from up high of where Nanaimo sits in the world. You can quite often see Mount Baker or Vancouver from up there on a clear day. And it's just it's a really beautiful spot. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, Fred, so great to learn more about your companies. And for anyone that hasn't been into Lucid or hasn't been into local, come on down to Commercial Street. Both of these stores are chock full of stuff that makes ideal gifts, especially if you want that gift to have a real Vancouver Island flavor to it. So thanks for your time, Fred, and we look forward to
Thanks for
seeing
having
you downtown.
me. And I also have to say, welcome to downtown, John. I know
Thank
you've moved your offices just into the space that is above Gabriel's, which is right next to Lucid. So we're neighbors now, and welcome to you and your team, and hopefully we'll be seeing you guys a lot more.
We couldn't be more excited to be even closer to a community that we already felt a part of. So
Nice.
Thanks for your time today,
Welcome.
Fred. Yeah, pleasure.